Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Aisha Gautam and today's lecture of mine is on cyber ethics and introduction. Internet has become the major driver of our lives. It has become an intrinsic part of our quotidian existence and impacts our reception of news, music, sports, groceries, meeting place, paying bills, relationship, travel tickets, Google Maps. Google Maps has been incorporated to find out ways and destinations as an extra reliable mechanism. Everything could be done by sitting at home without going into the physical world. Digital cyberspace has secured its separate existence. According to Lessig, cyberplace is not just about making life easier, it is about making life different or perhaps better. It is about making a different life. It evokes or calls to life ways of interacting that were not possible before. So one might ask that, okay, very often we use the term cyberspace in our day-to-day life. So what is this term cyberspace? What is the meaning of this term cyberspace? Cyberspace is to be understood as an electronic world which is made visible by the internet. Digital shift of the world has immensely altered the world. A galaxy of thinkers have attempted to characterize and interpret newly emerged paradigm by giving different names such as consumer society, surveillance society, network society, technological society, information society, post-industrial society, media age, cyber society, knowledge society, borderless society, and post-capitalist society. All these terms which you saw just on the screen, they are indicative of what this so-called cyberspace was indicative of. It meant, it became more of a surveillance society, it became more of a knowledge society, it became more of a post-capitalist society. We can pragmatically decide to choose any appropriate word to refer to the new society. In 2001, Herman Tavani considered whether computer ethics is different from cyber ethics. While he agreed that the internet has perpetuated and in certain cases exacerbated many of the ethical issues associated with the use of earlier computing technologies, he did not agree that there is enough difference and that a new field should be introduced. So one can say that computer ethics can be considered to be one of the synonyms of what we are calling as cyber ethics. Cyberspace, what we call as cyberspace, in fact transcends the physical boundaries. It carries a transnational character and changes the traditional understanding of space and time. For example, all of us are aware of Black Lives Matter movement. It received global attention and people started to express solidarity with the movement in different parts of the world with the help of cyberspace. A regional issue of racial discrimination can become an international issue with the power of new digital media. A government having, despite some legislation, can't limit an issue to a local level anymore. Cyberspace to a great degree promotes transparency and global response to end innately evil and discriminatory practice, which was a major missing point even in the heyday of print and electronic media. But the internet's potential ethical threat can't be completely undermined. All the nations perhaps need to collectively work to develop some ethical regulations and codes for the advancement of cyberspace. It can no longer be addressed by countries alone. When one uses the term cyber ethics, one attempts to understand the ethical and moral issues that arise in cyber society or cyber age. Ethics is about a moral conduct and behavior in real life to ensure the well-being of one and all. Cyber ethics can in fact be considered to be a branch of ethics considered with behavior in an online environment. It can be defined as a study of ethics about computers, covering users' behavior, what computers are programmed to do, and how this affects individuals and societies. A notable ethical philosopher of cyberspace, Lawrence Lessig, has identified law, code, social norms, and markets as major factors to develop the ethical discourse of cyberspace. With the information revolution and evolution of the information or rather database society, there are many ethical problems that have cropped up. Norbert Wiener, the father of cybernetics in the late 1940s and early 1950s, was the first to predict and work on the problems which we are calling the problems concerning cyber ethics. Computer ethics was coined by Walter Manor in the year 1970 to refer to the field of research that studies ethical problems aggravated, transformed, or created by computer technology. Later, it became clear that what matters is not the specific technology, computers, mobiles, information technology in general, but the raw material manipulated by it is equally important, and that raw material is data or information. So in the late 1990s, several researchers, especially a group in Oxford, started working on what is called as information ethics. So whether we are talking about computer ethics or whether we are talking about information ethics, these are concerns pertaining to these domains are also being raised in what we are calling as cyber ethics. One can very well say that technological changes have outspaced ethical developments, bringing about unanticipated change. One of the prominent challenge for ethicists has been to formulate an ethics that can treat the world of data, information and knowledge with the relevant life cycles, including creation, elaboration, distribution, communication, storage, protection, usage, and possible destruction as a new environment, the infosphere in which humanity is and will be flourishing. Cyber ethics should be able to address and solve the ethical challenges arising in the infosphere. Now, one might ask that, okay, what is the need of talking about cyber ethics? What is the relevance of cyber ethics? So, we know the moment we talk about internet, there are many issues, there are many ethical concerns which are being raised. I'm going to talk about some of these concerns in a while, but before doing that, let me talk about the importance of cyber ethics. It's needed to protect personal and commercial information such as login and password info, credit card and account information, and government and commercial database. It is also needed to control unwanted internet mails and ads, or what we call as spam. It is also needed to control plagiarism, identity fraud, and the use of copyrighted material. It is also meant for making ICT available and accessible to all people, including the disabled and the deprived. Accessibility needs to be kept in mind to maximize the capabilities of the technologies. To suppress dishonest business practice and to protect and encourage fair competition, again, we need cyber ethics. It is also needed to promote moral and social values in society. Cyber ethics covers, in fact, a wide range of issues that include copyright, financial fraud, spam, patent protection, digital identities, digital self, online piracy, cyber threats, anonymity, explicit pornography, hate speech, and getting the material downloaded from some unregistered sites, bypassing the owner of the content. Oxford philosopher Luciano Floridi persuasively identifies the ethical problem of entropy or ethical problem of pollution of the environment in the entire information sphere or infosphere. The information sphere is equivalent to cyberspace, and any kind of pollution or any kind of destruction in this sphere is to be taken care of by what we are calling as cyber ethics. Kierkegaard 1998 argues, when we are offered information whether by newspaper, television or by the internet, as in the case of cyberspace, we have no option but to use our everyday intelligence to assess it for reliability. This applies as much to the depiction as to the word or a written text. If I were to talk about some of the ethical concerns, then it is also important to talk about what the kind of responsible behavior which is needed in the cyberspace or internet. Cyber ethics, in fact, concerns the code of responsible behavior on the internet. Just as we are taught to act responsibly in everyday life, the responsible behavior on the internet in many ways aligns with all the right behavior in everyday life. But the results can be significantly different. Some people try to hide behind a false sense of obscurity on the internet, believing that it does not matter if they behave badly online because no one knows who they are or how to search them. That is not all the time true. Browsers, computers, and internet service providers may keep logs of their activities which can be used to spot illegal or inappropriate behavior. In fact, in the domain of cyber ethics, we talk about something called netiquette. Just as we have etiquette in our day-to-day life, similarly, we have netiquette in our cyberspace. It is a combination of words network and etiquette and is defined as a set of rules for acceptable online behavior. Now, having spoken about the responsibility, let me talk about the actual ethical concerns, some of the ethical concerns which are being faced in this realm of cyberspace. So one can begin with what is called as information accuracy or reliability. Many users access information maintained by other people or companies in the internet. We cannot assume that all the information on the web is correct. Users should evaluate the value of web page before relying on its content. The organization providing access to the information may not be the creator of the information many a times. In fact, many scholars nowadays are recommending what is called as green computing. Green computing is the environmentally responsible and eco-friendly use of computer and their resources. In broader terms, it is also defined as a study of designing, manufacturing, using and disposing of computing devices in a way that reduces their environmental impact. Again, another problem which is being faced in cyberspace and is a matter of concern is cybercrime. Cybercrimes like hacking of bank accounts, stealing identities, defrauding people, and scamming is in a variety of ways are becoming common. Fraud and impersonation are some of the malicious activity that occur due to the direct or indirect abuse of private information. Identity theft is rising rapidly. Public records, search engines, and database are the main culprits contributing to the rise of cybercrime. Ethical business practice protects the privacy of the customer by securing information that may contribute to the loss of secrecy, anonymity, and solitude. The increasing trend of cybercrime demands a set of code and rules to manage online crimes. There again, apart from the issue pertaining to cybercrime, there's also a threat to privacy which one comes across in cyberspace. Privacy from an ethical and moral point of view is central to dignity, individuality, and personhood. Privacy is also indispensable to a sense of autonomy, to a feeling that there's an area of individual's life that is totally under their control, an area that is free from outside intrusion. The deprivation of privacy can even endanger a person's health. Individuals surrender private information when conducting transaction and registering for services. In the cyber space which we are situated in, every now and then we are putting in some information. When we are putting in these information pertaining to our personal and professional life, the question which one might ask, is there a breach of privacy? If there's a breach of privacy, then how is it affecting not only our professional health, but also our mental health? In fact, another issue which has been raised when we talk about cyber ethics is the issue of spying. Actions such as governments or corporations spying on individuals, individuals spying on government or corporation, and so on, raise the need for a cyber ethical code. Do we really need that sort of surveillance where we can absolutely be not sure whether we are leading a life of a free individual who can make choice as per the way they would want to do that. A cyber ethical code perhaps can enlighten citizens about what is good or bad for them and can hold government accountable for unethical action. So spying, while talking about spying, a lot of people talk about something called surveillance capitalism. How the surveillance is being used by industries to, fool people, to, capitalize on their personal data. Another, ethical dilemma or ethical concern which is raised in the domain of, cyberspace is concerning ownership rights. Ethical debate has long included, what is called as the concept of property. The concept has created many clashes in the world of cyber ethics. One philosophy of internet is centered around the freedom of information. You are free to use the information the way you are, and perhaps the creator of the information has absolute authority over that particular data. Now, what happens when this right to information, right or freedom to own one's information is infringed upon? What happens when intellectual property rights are infringed upon? While talking about intellectual property rights, it is important to talk about the ever increasing speed of the internet and emergence of compression technology, which has opened the door for peer-to-peer file sharing, a technology that allowed users to anonymously transfer files to each other, previously seen only in programs. Much of this, however, which you see as these anonymous files are copyrighted music or copyrighted literature, which are illegal to transfer to other users. Now, the question which one might raise is that, is it ethical to transfer copyrighted media? It is obviously not. Just as you'd not want your property right to be given to anybody and everybody, you'd not want your right over the content which you have created to be given to somebody else. Restrictions are in fact required because, I mean, obviously nobody would want to invest so much in creating something and then that person would not want that thing to be taken away from them. Another concern which is verily raised in the domain of cyber space is this issue of accessibility, censorship and filtering. Accessibility, censorship and filtering brings up many ethical issues that have several branches in cyber ethics. Internet censorship and filtering are used to control or suppress the publishing or accessing of information. The legal issues are similar to offline censorship and filtering. Whether people are better off with free access to information or should be protected from what is considered by a governing body as harmful, indecent or illicit is a new debate. Again, should there be a censorship or should there should be an absolute freedom which should be given to the internet user or people who are situated in cyberspace. Another issue which is worth talking about while talking about cyberspace is the freedom of information or the freedom of speech or the freedom to seek, obtain and impart information which one gets to some extent in cyberspace. The right to freedom of information is commonly subject to limitations depending on the country, society and culture concerned. If you talk about how we understand freedom of speech or freedom of information in a very common in a layman parlance. But the question which one might raise is that can freedom of speech be used to weaponize, to peddle unethical practices and corporate interests? A new trend is being witnessed on various platforms of social media under the garb of free speech. People hurl abuses and use derogatory language against a person, group, community, caste, creed, culture and religion, thereby leading to discrimination of different forms. This counts as sheer misuse and misunderstanding of free speech. So now the question which one might raise is that when we are creating code or norm, social norm or etiquette for cyberspace, should we be talking about this freedom? Should we be talking about how freedom needs to be curtailed in certain situation and how what are the criteria on the basis of which we are going to decide whether the freedom should be curtailed or whether absolute freedom should be given to the internet user or the person situated in a cyberspace. That's a concern which we need to talk about. Another important issue to talk about while talking about cyberspace ethics is the issue of digital divide. This is an ethical issue pertaining to, again, freedom of information. This refers to the unequal socio-economic divide between those who have had access to digital and information technology such as cyberspace and those who have had limited and no access at all because of who they are. The gap of access between countries, region, people of the world is what is leading to what is called as global digital divide. Just as any and every form of inequality is something which we try to do away with, one question which one might raise is that do we need to take some steps to do away with the digital divide which we are witnessing in cyberspace. You know, another concern, having spoken about some of the important ethical concerns which we are being raised in, in this framework called cyberspace, let me give my concluding remark. Global space of internet must be socially responsible to foster integrity, human dignity, impartiality and respect for culture as a unit, non-violence and truth. In cyberspace, the issue of misinformation, disinformation and fake news has emerged as a serious subject that needs to be discussed and reflected. The rampant misuse to tarnish the image of an individual, group of individuals, community, sect and institution has become a severely crucial subject in cyber ethics. Hate speech, trolling, bullying, threat, anonymous identities and provocation of violence are felicitated in cyberspace. Net neutrality and accessibility of cyberspace to all is a primitive requirement to the growth of just and egalitarian society, and that is what we want in cyberspace. Spinello, an important philosopher working in the domain of cyber ethics, argues that the net's code support and protects a highly libertarian ethics that gives primacy to the individual speaker or user. Even though an individual is a central point of libertarianism, it shall not promote violence. It shouldn't be promoting violence, hate speech and these other malpractices. Even online games that promotes violence as a norm are discriminatory towards sex, gender, community, and one should be trying to do away with. Now the question which one might ask is that, what is the way out? What should we be doing? As human dependence on technology seems to be intensifying, cyber laws across the globe needs constant upgradation and refinement. Much of the workforce in the contemporary times is being pushed into a remote working module, increasing the need for app security. Cyber crimes can be controlled, but it needs collaborative effort of all, be it designers, policy makers, lawyers, and every possible stakeholders one can think of. One should try to make sure that we have, transparency of some sort in cyberspace. Somebody can be held, one should also make sure that somebody can be held accountable if there is some unethical activity which takes place in the realm which we are calling as cyberspace. So thank you so much. These are some of the references which can be used to get more clarity about the issue. Thank you.